Alright, I'm here to talk about Ballerina. So Ballerina is a new John Wick spin-off film that really delves into another character, this time around Eve Macaro. She is an assassin trained by Ruska Roma, and in this film, she seeks revenge to avenge her family's death. You know, it's a standard revenge story that we have seen a lot of times before in the past, but the difference is this film is set in the John Wick universe. So that alone, that fact alone, really changes how you see things, you know? And to jump off with the first positive thing that this film offers is Ana de Armas. Her performance here as an action star, she is amazing. You know, the way she fights, the way she just really flows fluidly, fights fluidly with doing her own stunts, it really makes the movie feel real, intense. That being said though, she is, let's face it, she is a different character than John Wick. So the film plays around with that. She moves differently, she fights differently, and her size is also different. She is also less skilled than John Wick. So she needs to use her size as her advantage. You know, because she is smaller and the guys fighting her is just so tall and so big. So she needs to find a way to outsmart them. And that is really one of the moments that I like during the fight scenes, the action sequences that are in this film, is how she finds another sneaky way to defeat all of these guys with her physicality. And yes, this film really plays into that a lot more. Now, John Wick is also in this film, and they utilize him very well in this film. He doesn't overshadow Eve Macaro as the main character, but he is in the poster after all. And he is crucially involved in the third act of this film, where he helps Eve Macaro escape and get her revenge. But if you're expecting a lot more John Wick action with John Wick as the character, you may be disappointed. So you need to set your expectation, your excitement for John Wick's return. Yes, he is here, and I'm glad that he's just not a cameo, you know? He's not here for 5-minute scenes or something like that. And yeah, the movie utilizes his return very well. The spotlight should be on her. And the main selling point of a film in a John Wick franchise is the action sequences. And this film, from start to finish, is filled with high intense action. It never really bores you because every time they come up with something new. For instance, near the end of the film, they have this long sequence of a firefight, where Eve Macaro needs to use a flamethrower to defeat her enemies, and she runs out of gas. So she needs to find a way to sneak in to defeat him with her intelligence, and that is to fight flame with water. Yes, logically, this doesn't make any fucking sense. But whatever, we're here for a John Wick film, and the action in this film is non-stop. So this film really knows how to sell action, and I can say that these action sequences are on par with John Wick 4 and John Wick 3. Now, speaking of John Wick 3, this film is set in the gap between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4. But then again, the film really keeps going, and it's giving you John Wick at its best, to reload the action sequences, a little bit of a gun fu sequence with John Wick at the end, and that is satisfying to watch. So the timeline problem for me is just a little nitpick thing, because I really wanted to know, by the end of the third John Wick film, he is physically broken and he needs to recover. And during that time also, he has to have this side mission that he has to do. It just doesn't really make sense. And also, he is an excommunicado during that film. And to me, to call John Wick for a favor, even though it's for the Rusca Roma, really doesn't make sense at all. But then again, you get John Wick in the climax of the film, and it is really satisfying. And here's the thing that I like about this film. The focus is on Ballerina, right? But the film is very much self-aware. She's not as skilled as John Wick. She is smaller than John Wick. And during their fight together, John Wick versus Eve, John Wick really tries to stop her. But he shows a little bit of a mercy for her. And Eve, on the other hand, she really doesn't stand a chance against the Baba Yaga. And that is the unique factor that I like during that fight, is also that even though this is Eve's movie, she doesn't need to necessarily beat John Wick by the end of the climax. And that is a really unique thing. So, Ballerina, if you're looking for the action, yes, you're gonna get it from start to finish. Especially that flamethrower sequence at the end, and also the massacre shootout at Hallstatt. It's just a lot of action in different places, and I'm here for that. So for Ballerina, I will give the movie an 8 out of 10. To me, this is a very unique John Wick entry, because it really doesn't focus on John Wick, but it stands on its own, and it earns the right to be in a John Wick film franchise, because the action has the same flair, has the same intensity, has the same stunts and everything, but it is its own thing. So I will give Ballerina an 8 out of 10. This is a very unique film that stands alone in the John Wick franchise, and I really like that. I really like that they explore a lot of different sides of the Rusca Roma, and throughout her point of view, without having John Wick necessarily need to be in a lot of the movie. But his presence here is felt. And yeah, I will give Ballerina 8 out of 10. And if you have seen Ballerina, tell me everything you like, everything you do not like, and also how does this film stand, on when you compare it to all of the John Wick movies? What's your rank about that? So tell me everything down in the comment section, and see you on the next video.